So Queer Science is a youth outreach group that connects an intergenerational group of scientists who are all queer and trans, and it helps build connections amongst youth who are hoping to go into science one day and the adults who are already in it.
Queer Science is a program for reaching out to LGBT youth to try and welcome them into the STEM field.
So we usually hold probably 3 events per year. 2 of them are during the school semester and 1 over the summer. The ones during the semesters are usually on Saturdays, where it's a day-long event that everyone can come to us, try a bunch of different sciences and get to sample a little bit of everything and see where their passion lies. So let's just get to talk and interact with us. And then during the summer, we usually do field work so that we can get into the field and show off what some of those other ecology majors or like any of the other like ecological majors, people who do work outside of just the lab space, and they get to show their stuff and thrive.
Remember like the field trip where we went to the swamp and then we got eaten alive? That was pretty fun. That was a cool trip because we got to go, because it's not normally that you would go into such a ecologically unique sort of area and be able to learn about all of the sciencey aspects of what there is there, which I found to be really interesting.
So now I'm working at a window company, and one of the things we do a lot with is the like how to make windows insulate your home well and the thermal performance. And so I did an activity with, I think it was last year, with Queer Science, where I kind of gathered up a lot of different building materials like glass and wood and styrofoam, and we talked about like how heat transfer works, and then we, in groups, the different participants built little houses, and then we had these thermal cameras that I had borrowed from work, and so we were able to look at, we took the houses outside, they each had like a little hot water furnace, it was just a jar of hot water, and we could see how well their houses performed thermally, so that was super cool. I had a good time. It was also really cool to see, well, to share with other people, and then also just like reignite a lot of that curiosity and love of science that I have, and to see, I don't know, it took me a while in my life to kind of integrate the queer and the like science professional aspects of my life, and so it's really cool to just be in a space where that's happening.
They're just long events where we can not only like do experiments alongside these people who know what they're doing, but we can like hang out with each other and talk. So besides being able to just interact with people, it's a great experience to learn new skills. Like we learned how to graft plants together. That's not something you can do anywhere. And just getting to meet all these cool people. It's just an amazing experience to get to talk to like and have mentors that are queer and not just, you know, you're like heterosexual people that are just too far away to feel like you know them. It's excellent.
Culture, and I focused my doctoral studies around making science education, especially like at the teacher education level, inclusive of LGBTQ folks. And I was at the U of M, and I'm super excited to be, you know, doing partnerships with Queer Science, and I've really enjoyed just the opportunities that Queer Science has made for students in our high schools to imagine themselves and see themselves represented in the possibilities of science education, as well as careers in science and technology.
Before Queer Science, I felt a lot like I didn't really belong in the STEM field because I didn't really see any role models there. And then my first time going, I discovered a huge love for math, which I'd never really tried in before because it didn't really feel like I was supposed to be good at it. I loved the chemistry aspect when we made sutures. I just loved everything about my first time at Queer Science. I've been going for 3 years now.
Okay, so my first Queer Science event was just last fall. I found it through an Instagram ad, and honestly, I was not expecting much when I first checked it out. As a queer and disabled scientist, I have always been ostracized from the community at best, and it's been completely inaccessible at worst. So when I found this new thing, queer science, and I went through all of this, and then there was this Google form where you could put in your name and your pronouns and all your demographics, and then it asked for accommodations. And that was just such a groundbreaking thing to me, because I've never had a time where I didn't have to fight for them. So to just come into this space that was accessible, that had people working for accessibility, not only for me as a disabled person, but for me as a queer person, it was just like a breath of fresh air. And for the first time, I truly felt like I could actually make this my career.
Like, my experience with queer science has been that I've always known I wanted to go into like a science, and a very specific science, and knowing that there's people that are like me and that I'm not going to be the only one. Like, I remember walking into the queer science event I've been to, and it was like, wow, not only are there like a million LGBT youth, but there are adults that are like me, and I'm not going to be alone. And just having that thought, and then being able to be within this community, like we have like a chat that's still, it's like pretty active. It's like, okay, well, if I ever feel like I'm unsure about what I want to do and I'm just afraid, I can always think, okay, I'm not going to be alone, because if like this little like pod of people exists in Minnesota, like they're going to be everywhere. And it just makes me feel like good and like I have a community.
Thank you all
you.
to
Have a
Innovate.
good day.